to Mary as well for this well-deserving recognition. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce our speaker, JasonMumpower. He's no stranger to most of us in this room. For those members and guests, however, who don't know what an impressive background he has, I'm happy to provide a brief overview. Jason is a Bristol, Tennessee high school graduate and was graduated from King College, now University, with a major in economics and a minor in political science. In June of 2013, some of you may not know, he was graduated from Harvard University's John F. Kennedy prestigious School of Government and the Senior Executives in State and Local Government program. He is also a Rule 31 listed General Civil Mediator, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is quite an accomplishment. His service began quite early as he earned the highest achievement in the Boy Scout program, of course, the rank of Eagle Scout. Today, he's active in many community organizations, including our, do I say our brother-sister service organization, Rotary Club of Bristol, and the Chambers of Commerce in Kingsport, Bristol, and Johnson County, Tennessee. At the age of 23, Jason was elected as the state representative for Sullivan and Johnson counties in the Tennessee General Assembly. And during a 14-year tenure, he held positions of leadership as both the House Minority Leader and then later as the House Majority Leader. Additionally, he served in key roles on the Health and Human Resources Committee, the Finance, Ways and Means Committee, and the Budget Committee. Now, Jason has numerous awards and recognitions, including being named as Legislator of the Year by several associations, including the County Officials Association, the Tennessee Realtors Association, and the Tennessee Association of Marriage and Family Therapists. And he was named Outstanding Young Man by the Kingsport JCs. Jason is well known and respected for his work at Corporate Image, a prominent public relations and marketing firm in Bristol. And today, he serves as Chief of Staff for the Tennessee Comptroller's Office. This is a position that combines his expertise and his wealth of knowledge of both state finance and state operations. So it is appropriate that Jason joins us once again in the press room of Food City, as he's been quoted as saying that he learned more about life working at a Food City than he could learn anywhere else. We're delighted that Jason has joined us today to help us learn something, to learn more about his important message on the state of our great state of Tennessee. Please join me in welcoming him.
Thank you all. Thank you very much. It's always embarrassing when I have to sit through that, but nonetheless, I always wish my wife was here for it. But I'm going to set my phone down here. Since the advent of cell phones, and I don't wear a watch anymore, so when you see me touch it, I'm not checking email or text messages. I'm seeing what time it is, because being a member of a civic club myself, I understand what happens at the end and when it's time to go. Thank you all for having me back here. It's a great pleasure to be with you. It is a great pleasure to be with you 364 days after I was with you the last time as a speaker, because I was with you on my birthday last year, as some of you here may remember, and my birthday is tomorrow. So that means instead of being here 365 days, I'm here 364 days. Tomorrow I'll be with my 6-year-old son in Gatlinburg. That was his idea of how we could spend a good birthday. He made the plans. We're going to the movie tonight and going to Gatlinburg tomorrow. I appreciate very much you all having me here as a guest. Before, I know I was here with different folks at different times, most recently Bill Lee a month or two ago, and just always enjoy being here. What I want to go through with you today, it'll be on the PowerPoint behind me, is really a list of accomplishments, a list of facts, a list of things about your state of Tennessee that you can be proud of. I'm going to have to be artful here about holding the microphone in one hand, holding the clicker in another hand, and turning my pages with my notes with one of these hands, but I'm going to do the best I can. As I know we're broadcasting live, I'm certain to any number of viewers out there on the internet. You know, Tennessee has accomplished much over the last several years, and really I want to tell you about it. It's something that I think you can be proud of, and something in particular, when you think about the incredibly strong financial position of our state, something that you'll be proud to know. You know, Tennessee, at least for the last decade or so, has a proud tradition of low taxes, of only borrowing money that we know we can repay, of improving education, of creating jobs that lead to higher incomes, and by helping families feel secure. Tennessee, I'm proud to say, has its financial house in order. We have the lowest unemployment rate in history right now. It is an unemployment rate that is below the national average. Our rainy day fund, our state savings account, is increasing. Our budget is balanced, and we have about 5 times the amount of cash on hand that we need to cover our short-term debts. I'm going to be moving fast too, because I know how much time we have left. So if you have a question, raise your hand, or you can save it to the end. Also, I would say that we continue to have a government that lives within its means. Since 2011, the General Assembly has focused in particular on keeping the government small but effective. The number of government employees has gone down by about 3,500 folks during that time, as you can see there. Now, at the same time, you can see that Tennessee residents are better off now than they were just 7 years ago. Per capita income is up over 18% since 2011. As this has occurred as the Tennessee Legislature has lowered the regulatory burden on business and actively sought out new companies who have relocated to Tennessee. In addition to that, you can see from this chart that your General Assembly has cut or reduced taxes every year since 2011. Altogether, taxpayers have been saved more than $800 million since 2011 in reductions. And in the next couple years, I know some of you probably are still paying a little bit of whole income tax, but the whole income tax will be completely phased out by 2021, and Tennessee at that time will become only the second state in history to have repealed an income tax. It was put on a 5-year phase out, and that phase out will be completed in 2021. Tennessee is a very low tax state. It doesn't really matter how you measure it. You can see different sources up there on the screen. And it is important to know that we say that not just to say that, but Tennessee's low tax standing and our light regulatory burden contribute to a very favorable business environment. Some people have us 47th lowest, some people have us 49th lowest, some people have us lowest of all, but Tennessee is a very low tax state. Now, when you make the choice to be a very low tax state, it is also important that you choose to be a very low debt state. And that is what we have chosen. Now, just like taxes, there are many various ways that you can measure debt. Some of the common ones are by percentage of population, by personal income, operating expenditures, gross state product. It doesn't matter how you measure it. Tennessee is a low debt state. In fact, it is reported that among the states that have debt, and there are about 2 that don't, but of the ones that have debt, Tennessee is considered to be the lowest per capita debt state in the nation. Now, Another thing that the legislature does is when we do incur debt, we put it on a very fast track for repayment. If no more debt were to be incurred in the state of Tennessee, we could pay off over 70% of the debt we have on the books today in just 10 years. And when Tennessee borrows money, we do it in what we call a very vanilla way. We generally do it at level principal and interest over a 20-year period and phase that out that way. Here is something that is plaguing other states, and I think we can be particularly proud of. As we are compared, and let me say, Tennessee, and I haven't said this yet, this is a slide coming up, I think. Tennessee is a AAA state. Do y'all ever check your personal credit rating? You know, if you take out a car loan or a home loan, you do. And you know how important your credit rating is. Well, Tennessee is one of only 12 states in the nation right now that enjoys not a AAA, but a AAA credit rating. It's a hallmark of financial management. And of the states which you can see here have a AAA status, our funding for our pension plan, which is a burden to many states, our pension plan is over 90% funded. That really stands out in the nation. And not only when you compare us to other AAA states, but when you compare us to our border states, the states that border Tennessee, you can see that we stand out the highest, over 94% funded, which means we're going to be able to meet our promises to retire our state retirees without having to dip further into the pockets of Tennesseans. Here is my slide that talks about the fact that we are AAA all the way, AAA. In May of 2016, Standard & Poor's became the third rating agency to give us a AAA. We have enjoyed a AAA rating with Moody's and Fitch since 2010. On October 8th, 9th, and 10th, I'm going to be traveling up to New York City with Governor Haslam, with the constitutional officers, with the Commissioner of Finance. We're going to be making our annual presentation to the three rating agencies right there at 7 World Trade Center, right next to the Freedom Tower, where we're going to be showcasing Tennessee's strong financial management, and we clearly expect to continue to have our AAA status. Now, some important things to know about what these rating agencies look for and what they say about Tennessee. They have given us our AAA rating because we have a strengthening economy, because we have growing reserves, because we've demonstrated a positive year-to-date performance in terms of our finances, and most importantly, we have continuous sound management of our long-term liabilities. You know, a credit rating, again, just like your personal credit, that's what these credit rating agencies are looking at, and that is the state's ability to repay the debt that it has, and that it's not entering into excessive debt. Now, what is the business environment in Tennessee? I told you already, we have record low unemployment. You can see that new business filings, the creation of new businesses, have grown year over year for the past 26 quarters. And they have increased over 10% just since the first quarter of 2017. You know, when you have new businesses opening doors, they're hiring workers, improving our community. Business Facilities Magazine, which gives an independent opinion of every state's business climate, ranked Tennessee third in the nation as a place to create a business. We're having the best business climate. You can see that we have a long-term pattern of growth and really show Tennessee's economic stability. In addition to that, one of the keys for growing a business, one of the keys for maintaining prepared workforce is having education as a priority. Over the last 5 fiscal years, Tennessee has been one of a very small number of states that has consistently focused on and increased K through 12 education spending. It's important to note that was accomplished while reducing taxes, I told you that, and we're also seeing improved performance. So we're putting the money where it matters, and we're putting it somewhere in a way that yields results. In addition to K through 12 education, You know, we cherish our university and college system and our community college system. And building on the recent success that I talked about with our K-12 schools, really, it's recognized today that, even I'll be 45 tomorrow. I graduated college in 1991, and even as recently as that, I think it was thought that, if you graduate high school, I graduated high school in 1991, and I think even as recently as that, it was thought once you graduate high school, you really have what you need to be able to go out and find a job. But in today's world, it's really almost seen that a minimum of a bachelor's degree or an associate's degree or a technical degree beyond high school is needed to find a quality job. So building on that, Tennessee has created the Tennessee Promise, really modeled after something that's been happening here in Sullivan County for even longer. 2 years of tuition-free attendance at a Tennessee community or technical college. We're first in the nation to do that. The number of recent high school graduates enrolling in higher education is higher than ever before. For the data we have, you can see back in the fall of 2017, we had a 21.8% enrollment increase at community colleges, and really a key fact, something that Bill Lee talked about, you'll remember, if you've seen him, a 39.3% increase at TCATs. Because I will tell you, we have seen over the years such a focus on more academic education that we have overlooked the technical and vocational education. And I don't know if anybody has had to hire a plumber lately, or if you have had to do something like that, but it's very expensive. Those folks are in demand, and learning those technical and vocational skills extremely important for the next generation. We can't lose sight of that. A welder. I was talking to some of you may have seen Bill Lee's commercial where he's actually welding. He was talking about how much he pays welders at his company, and I'm almost sad I didn't learn to weld. Over across town at the Meadowview Convention Center right now, Wednesday, Thursday, and today, the Meadowview has been hosting the Governor's Conference on Tourism. Tourism is a tremendous industry in Tennessee. People, in Tennessee love to visit the Smoky Mountains. They love to come to Music City in Nashville. They love to come to Graceland. They love to come up here for our hiking and biking and things that we have, the racetrack, different things we have here in Upper East Tennessee. The list goes on and on. But you can see that people are coming, they're spending money, just like I will be tomorrow, I'm sure, in Gatlinburg. And I'm going to tell my wife, by the way, because she said, I don't have anything for you for your birthday. And I'm going to tell her if she'll just pay for all the things Max wants to do tomorrow, that will be like a birthday gift for me. Because I don't know if y'all have ever ridden that sky lift, up the mountain where you just kind of ride up and back. That's like a $60 enterprise for a family of 3. But you can see that the economic impact of tourism is very important to Tennessee. Now, for all the good things I've mentioned, it's important to mention as well and recognize when you have issues that we're facing in Tennessee, but issues we're facing in the nation. One of those issues facing Tennessee has been the impact of opioid use, opioid abuse, while recognizing how important opioids are. Now, some of you may know that last November, on November 2nd, we're coming up on the anniversary, I was in a little car wreck right up here on I-81. I was coming home from Nashville, and a tractor and trailer hauling 85,000 pounds of frozen chicken didn't stop until he had plowed through me and 5 cars in front of me. And I'm very fortunate, very blessed to be where I am today, considering everything that happened in that accident. But I will tell you that the worst thing that happened to me, I think, were the opioids they had me on. I mean, those things will mess you up. And it's hard for me to understand sometimes how people can become so addicted to that, but we know that they can. And I can vouch for the fact that they're extraordinarily powerful. And this past year, the legislature passed a few pieces of legislation, things that you've seen happen around the nation. They limited the supply of opioids that can be prescribed at any point in time. They also gave tools to law enforcement and to treatment services to help people who do become addicted to the scourge of opioids. You know, in my home, in my medicine cabinet, in my bathroom upstairs, I have a jar of opioid painkillers. A couple years ago, I had my 4th wisdom tooth removed. I had 3 of them removed many years ago, and they thought I could keep the 4th, but I couldn't. And actually, when I left the dentist office, they handed me a prescription for 30 days worth of opioid painkillers. I didn't take one. I didn't even take one. It's still in my medicine cabinet because, you know, you never know when you're going to be out there and cut a toe off with the lawnmower or something like that. And, you know, they were legally prescribed for me. But that is the problem. That is the problem. The fact that these things have been handed out so freely and so easily over the years, and they really have been taken advantage of. In addition, the legislature adopted some measures this year to address crime in the state. They adopted a law to expand the definition of especially aggravated stalking, in particular aimed at protecting children. They adopted something to protect the Elderly and Vulnerable Adult Protection Act for people who prey on seniors and vulnerable people in particular, with phone scams and different kind of marketing scams and those kinds of things. And as a result of a report that was done by the Comptroller's Office, and a result of some very unfortunate things that happened across the state, the legislature did adopt a comprehensive package to help protect students from sexual misconduct that is primarily aimed at teachers and other school personnel who have exhibited sexual misconduct towards students and then have just been able to go to another school system without any record of that and become rehired, things like that. A package of 5 bills that will help protect Tennessee students from sexual misconduct by authority figures. We also in Tennessee today, it's especially good to recognize on a day like today, have a cleaner environment. The entire state meets federal and state air quality standards. That has not been the case as recently as 8 years ago. Of course, not only is that great for our health, and when we're looking outside on a day like today, it's great to enjoy, but it's also positive for Tennessee businesses, because when you have and you're under the strict standards of the federal government or the State Department of Environment, and you live in a community that is scourged by these environmental regulations, that turns business away. And so the fact that we have worked to encourage people to be good stewards of the environment, and they have picked up on that, we have a clean environment with low regulations, and it drives business to Tennessee. We also have 1,600 miles of rivers and streams that have been cleaned since 2011. The Pigeon River is an example of that. Justin Wilson, the Comptroller of the Treasury, was the Commissioner of Environment under Governor Don Sundquist, and he often talks about the fact of what a great job we have done cleaning up the environment in Tennessee. So, very fast presentation that I'll conclude by saying the Tennessee General Assembly, your legislature, is focused on the fundamentals: low taxes, low debt, job creation, a strong education system, and safe communities. When we talk about the state of the state, the state of the state of Tennessee is a great state. It is in a great state. It is a great state to live in, and there is much that you can be proud of as a Tennessean. We're really exceeding many of the national standards, and I think we're going to stay on that track. I think that I have left yes, plenty of time for questions or thoughts if you have any. A couple things that a couple people mentioned to me to asked me to talk about that weren't in my presentation. It's a very interesting year. This is going to be a year, your club knows this in particular because you've had a parade of candidates. This is going to be a year that we're electing a new governor. Bill Lee and Carl Dean are running for governor. And as you saw maybe on the front of the Kingsport Times today, they're going to have one of their 3 debates in the gubernatorial election over at the Eastman Employee Center on October 9th. I'll be in New York City that day, as I said, and hate to miss it, but I'll probably see one in another part of the state. But tickets are available starting Monday, and I would encourage you to take advantage of that. That should be very interesting. In addition to that, we have a United States Senate race at hand. Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn and former Governor Phil Bredesen are running for the United States Senate. I don't know of any scheduled debates at this point in time, but that'll be something interesting to watch for. And of course, the Tennessee General Assembly, all 99 members of the, or I forgot to mention our own United States Congressman, Phil Rowe and a Mr. Olson, I don't know his, or Dr. Olson, I don't know his first name, are running for Congress here in our area. Then you have all 99 state representatives from across the state, all of ours in Sullivan County. John Crawford, Timothy Hill, and Bud Hulsey. I think of that group, only Bud Hulsey has competition. And Senator John Lundberg is in mid-term of his term. While half the Senate is up for election this year, our state senator here in Sullivan County is not on the ballot this year. And the only other thing I'll mention, which is something very interesting, and somebody, as I was coming in, they saw the sign in the windshield of my Chevrolet Tahoe out in the parking lot. One thing that I have done, you know, I still live here, but travel to Nashville for work, and I've done that for 22 years. And my wife and I have only been married for 17, so of the 17 years we've been married, the only life we've known is one where I go back and forth to Nashville, and my son's 6, and so that's the only life we've known. And so when I'm in Nashville, particularly outside the legislative session, go in and work a full day in the Capitol, and I find looking for something to do in the evening, I have started driving Uber and Lyft. And if you look at the windshield of my Tahoe out there, I have an Uber sign and a Lyft sign out there. People say, why in the world are you doing that? Well, I don't know how many of you have been to Nashville lately, but it's a very busy city. And I just kind of did it on a whim. I have a big vehicle, and I thought, why not give it a try? So I registered, and one day I just looked, and I had been approved. And so I got out and started driving, and that first night I picked up 12 trips, and I had great fun doing it. And so now I have driven about 180 trips in Nashville. I get out from maybe around 6 or 6:30 to about 10 p.m. sometimes. So I'm not driving, you know, at 12 or 1 or 2 when the people are stumbling drunk out of the honky tonks down on Broadway. People always ask me, have you ever had anybody throw up in your car? No, I haven't. But I will tell you, I've driven about 175 trips, and of the 175 trips I've driven, I would say that 165 of them have been either tourist or business travelers, and maybe 10 locals. Nashville is a very busy city in terms of, I mean, every night of the week. I mean, Broadway is crawling, the bars are crawling, people going to dinner, people seeing this, that, and the other. It's been a very interesting experience to get to visit with and talk to very, very interesting people. Somebody asked me what my strangest trip was. As I told you, I haven't had any drunks. I haven't had any crazy stuff, really. The strangest thing I had is that when I first started driving, it was fun. And one morning I woke up about 4:45 in the morning and just kind of glanced at the clock and would normally go back to sleep, but the thought jumped in my head, you know, I wonder what kind of Uber rides are out there right now. So I just couldn't get that thought out of my mind. I jumped up and got dressed, didn't even brush my hair. Went out to the car and got in, and my apartment, John Lundberg and I share an apartment about 2.8 miles from the Capitol. You don't have to get on the interstate. So I came up Rosa Parks Boulevard near where the Tennessee State Museum is going to be. I got a hit, and I thought, okay, and it took me over into East Nashville. And I pulled up at the end of a driveway, and there was these two fellows standing there in their 20s, they looked like. And they got in the car, and then when you're driving Uber, you can't see where you're taking them till you pick them up. And that's because, you know, a lot of people wouldn't pick up these trips if they knew they were just taking them a block or two. So anyway, they got in, I clicked and saw where I was taking them. I was just taking them about a mile up the road to a Citgo gas station. This, by the way, remember, I got on the road at 4:45. It was about 5:03 in the morning. I took these guys a mile up to the Citgo, and it was a round trip, so I was taking them back home. They went in the Citgo, they both bought a 6-pack of beer, and they bought 1 bag of sour gummy worms. They got back in the car, and I dropped them off back at home. That's the strangest trip I've driven so far. At 5:03 in the morning, 2 6-packs of beer and a bag of sour gummy worms.
How much does that pay?
That probably wasn't a very good trip. You know, the great trips, you know, driving Uber, I have made $40 an hour, but generally it's about $20 or $25 an hour. Just kind of something fun to do. The money deposits into a bank account, and what I've done, I've got a little bank account that's going in, and I'm going to save it for Max to go to college, or maybe take a trip with him one day somewhere for however long my fascination lasts with it.
It's not going to be cryptocurrency?
No. But anyway, that's the story. It is 12:52. I'll be happy to answer any questions if there are any. Pat?
Jason, I thought your story is pretty impressive about the growth of the state and finances and so forth, but across the 95 counties, it appears to be uneven. Some counties lag behind. Is there a program that the General Assembly is pursuing to kind of boost up some of the counties that are lagging?
You know, you're exactly right. There is a lot of growth, and the growth is primarily in our urban centers. It's not only in our urban centers, but it's in the collar counties to a lot of those urban centers. Now, that means there's a lot, or even the majority of counties, even some counties up here where we live, that aren't doing as well. But I can tell you that right now, 94 out of 95 Tennessee counties are enjoying the lowest unemployment rate in history. Interestingly, the one that is not on that list is Hancock County, which is just down the road here. And we're watching Hancock closely. So all counties the ship is rising in all counties, but I know that in this governor's race, for example, there's a real focus and a real talk about the challenges that rural communities face. And one thing that has happened, and some of you may have different feelings about it, and I'm not making a judgment on it myself, but the Improve Act, which adjusted what you could call the gasoline tax last year to promote road building and maintenance. Some people might call it a user fee because you only pay that tax if you actually use the road. That has spurred, you know, some continuing infrastructure into these particularly rural communities that had been lagging behind. Yes, Mary?
I was curious about I did hear Carl Doom yesterday and Bill Lee at the governor's conference. And what's your take on the expansion of Medicaid and the benefits that we get from the government in granting dollars? How do you see that playing out in the future?
Well, let me say it's not for me and it's not for my office to make a judgment about that, and so I'm not going to do that. That is my old hat, and sometimes I slip up and render judgment on stuff like that and get myself in a little bit of trouble. I'm not going to do that today. The whole issue surrounding the expansion of Medicaid is one, of course, that will be played out in the governor's office. The Tennessee General Assembly has decided not to move in that direction right now. There are probably upsides and downsides, whichever way you look at it, or depending on what your perspective is, and depending on how much you trust the federal government to hold true to its promises.
Amen.
I think that's probably the biggest question about it. In Tennessee, the direction that is desired is to have the federal money block granted to the state of Tennessee, so that it's not necessarily federally mandated in terms of how it is spent, but it's spent the way we know that it works the best. Tennessee has a $37 billion budget, and more than a third of that money is TennCare and healthcare. So it's a tremendous expense in Tennessee, and I know that that's an issue that will be hotly debated, and I'm not gonna get myself in any more trouble saying anything else about it. Yes, we got Tim, and then we'll get both of you. Tim, go first.
There was an article in the Wall Street a few weeks back, maybe a few months, that talked about the Turkey lira and how it has an impact even in Tennessee and retirement planning for the state. Any thoughts on that, or?
The state treasurer's office is the one that manages the investments in the state of Tennessee, and foreign currencies do make a difference, and really the world economy makes a difference when you have this multi-billion dollar investment system. And so, you know, it's something we have to watch. The tariff issues are important to Tennesseans in different ways, to our farming community, to our automotive manufacturing community. There are several things that happen on the world stage that have a direct impact in Tennessee. Yes.
Everything looks pretty glowing. What can you comment in terms of the challenge or challenges that you can envision or see going forward that we might encounter?
The biggest challenge, and the challenge that we instill in everybody, or every legislator that we have a chance to talk to, is when you have chosen to operate Tennessee in a way that has been chosen, that is low tax, low revenue, that means that in order to stay on top, you have to limit spending and you have to limit debt. And so the basic principle, the basic ongoing challenge is the economy is really humming right now. It's humming in Tennessee, it's humming in the nation. The economy, Mary Lee told you, my basic degree is in economics, and you know, a basic economic principle is it's not going to hum forever. It's going to be cyclical. And when the bad times come, you have to maintain the same level of fiscal stability that you do in the good times. And you know, you can't overspend, and if your revenue stream dips, you have to dip your spending. And we insist at the state of Tennessee that you spend recurring revenue on recurring projects and non-recurring revenue on non-recurring projects, and particularly you don't start spending non-recurring money on recurring things, and just keeping the financial house in order. And generally, if you do that, it doesn't matter if you do that at the state level or if you do that right around your own kitchen table. If you keep yourself in order, then financially, then typically everything else is going to work out. We have a very robust rainy day fund that we continue to build, and we're going to keep working in that direction. Sharon, I see you're getting ready to pull me off stage. Thank you all very much for having me back. I appreciate it. Anything I can do for you, give me a call.
So, Jason, we have a program, a reading program in 2 elementary schools, and we're going to place a book in one of their school libraries in recognition of your being with us today. So thank you very much.
Thank you.